on the program, Vincent. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me here.
We sincerely apologize for the back and forth. You know, when it comes to technology, you can never be 100% very sure of what it might throw at you at the very dying minute. Now, Vincent Olatunji is the Director General, Nigeria Data Protection Bureau. The conversation is about national security and the place of data. We cannot speak any less about the need for us to have a single database in Nigeria. Vincent, we've had this conversation over and over again in the last few years. We've had the BVN, we have the NIN, we have the BVAST. I collected data from Nigeria, it's about 92.3 million data thereabout, and we have the census coming up. Why do we have this? Why are we so unable to have a single database, Vincent? If only you can tell me, Nigerians would want to know.
Thank you very much. I think we need to lay the background why it is really important for us to have a single database or harmonized database in Nigeria. We're all aware that increasingly we are digitalizing our activities, the way we live, the way we work, the way we interact with ourselves, that we're moving almost everything online. Even schools, especially with COVID, almost everything has been moved online, health, education, and everything. And the foundation of whatever you do online is your digital identity, which is really important. And what we have in Nigeria is still part of our developmental story, whereby you're trying so many things and you're looking for the best option for you. Yes, we have different sets of organizations keeping data in one form or the other. You have the banking sector, you have telecoms, you have for education, you have for immigrations and so on. But I think what is really important is to look at the kind of technologies we are, all these different organizations, and the need for us to have harmonized database where you need anything for any citizen of this country, you have a point where you can always go to and get access or information in whatever you want to do. The move to have one harmonized database actually started as far back as 2003, when the federal government of Nigeria brought together all major data controllers in the public sector to have one point of access to national data. But because of the need for people to protect their space, to protect their territories, a lot of organizations were not ready to really cooperate, and that was why that didn't work out. And the major purpose of trying to do that was to have a kind of harmonized virtual database where all organizations keeping one database or the other will still have the database with them. But what we're going to have is to have a window, a platform whereby if you need any information, any data from immigrations, for instance, from customs, for instance, from road safety, for instance, you go to that virtual database to have access to data. But it didn't work. But the good news is that about 2 years ago, the current administration set up a national data harmonization committee made up of major data controllers in the public sector, whereby you come together to discuss and look at the best way to have one harmonized database for the country, and work has reached an advanced stage in that area, and I'm sure very soon we're going to have that. More importantly, with the designation of the Federal Ministry of Communications now as the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, and you're aware that you have a national digital economy policy and strategy which we're implementing. This has brought all major data controllers in the public sector in the country together to have a single point of access to national data, and work is really going on in that area.
Mr. Olatunji, if you can break it down for an average Nigerian today, just as you've been able to lay to bear how much efforts are being put into ensuring that we get a standard database, what are the actual problems? What are the main challenges militating against this dream?
As I said before, the first thing is the lack of collaboration among a lot of major data controllers in the country. Two, in terms of funding, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of even human capital, in terms of government policy that will bring all these organizations together. And as I said, now we have that policy now and the strategy with the National Digital Economy Policy and Strategy. And one thing that is really important is that we now have a government organization that has almost 50% of data of Nigeria, because an average Nigeria of digital transformational age, that is, you want to do one thing or the other online, like you want to do WIC registration, JAM registration, NYC, you want to open a bank account, you want to do your driver's license, you want to do your international passport, you must have a digital identity, which is NIN, which is under NIMSI. And before NIMSI was moved to the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy, for almost 13 years, they were doing just about 39 million data of Nigeria that were captured in their database. But between when they were moved to the ministry and now, this is also to speak to the fact that we are gradually getting to a level of harmonization of national data, citizens' data of the country. Within 2.5 years, they are now doing about 96 million. They now have about 96 million data of Nigerians in their database. So anything you want to do now, if you get a stage that you can't really access any service without giving your name. That is your national identification number, which is just like the social security number or the health insurance number in US and the UK. So now we are moving to that stage. Anything you want to do, your name will be your national identity. That is the number that we use for any digital transaction you want to make. So gradually, we are seeing the work is coming on gradually, and I'm sure within the next few years we're going to have one harmonized database that either you want to do service in the area of education, in the area of health, in the area of driver license or whatever. Your name is the most important thing that we know, and with that you are counted, you are known as a citizen of this country, and when you want to have any access to any government service, you have that. And to a large extent, that will even allow government to properly plan for whatever you want to do in terms of infrastructure, in terms of facility, and so on.
This Sustainable Development Goal 16.9, which of course allows for identity, legal identity for every human being, targeted at the year 2030. You would ask yourself, the optimism in your voice just a while ago, how realistic that will be in Nigeria at this point in time. Bearing in mind that we've had estimates, open estimates, even by people outside our country, giving us an estimate of how many we are as a people. However, I'm sure that Nigerians, perhaps you too, should be very eager and should be looking forward to the census 2023, which we do hope would hold in a matter of weeks in this nation. Let's talk about moving forward from now. We've been able to identify the challenges that militating against why we do not have a single central database in the country. With what you can see on ground and a new administration in the offing, what are those things you would recommend should be put in place in earnest so that even when the census holds, plus all the data we have already in our kitty, we can be able to harmonize and move forward from here?
So I didn't quite get the question, but see if I'm correct. I think you're asking.
Okay, the question, can I paraphrase if you can hear me?
Things we need to put in place to have.
All right, Mr. Latunji, did you hear me? With the data that we have, the upcoming census, a new government in the offing, what are those things we must put in place in earnest to ensure that we're able to achieve a single database in the nearest future?
Okay, thank you very much. I think the issue of census is really important for us at this point in the country, because even when they started as far back as 1866, that was the first national census in the country. and then moved to the decennial census 1861, 1871, to 1991, and even 1901. But the first, before that was even before the amalgamation of the Northern and Southern Protectorates in Nigeria, and the main one was in 1971 under the National Population Bureau. Then we started having it, but the last one was 2006. That was about 17 years ago. And at this point of our national development, we can't continue to depend on estimation, population estimate, or we calculate and say, okay, this is where we think we are now. And that's where at times you hear people say, we are 200 million, we are 210 million, we are 220, we are 230, and so on. So what the effort the government is trying to put in place now, that is counting our people, counting our buildings, which will start, I think, on the 28th of this month to 2nd of April, 2023, is really important for us at this point of our national development. Now, what do we need to put in place to have one harmonized database? One is the issue of policies, which is really important for us to say, okay, we have one single database in the country. And as I said before, currently we have the National Digital Economy Policy and Strategy, which is being implemented under the Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy. So most of the committees in the area of identity in Nigeria, the ministry is ably represented. In fact, the minister chairs some of the committees in the area of digital identity. Also, we have NIMSI, which is the federal government organization in charge of identity management in the country. And as I said, under them, we now have over 96 million database of Nigerians of digital transactional age. You have an identity to be able to do that. So the policy is already in place. What next we need to do is to provide for appropriate infrastructure that can actually carry the kind of population that we have, the kind of database we are trying to put in place. Because if you don't have that infrastructure on which the data can write down, we'll be deceiving ourselves. It's either it's not enough for the terms of security, it's not up to date, and we run into crisis. The other one is human capital. Who are the kind of people managing this data, collecting them, managing them, storing them, and for people to be able to have easy access to such data as and when needed. That is really important. Also, collaboration, which is really key. As I said before, in 2003 when we started this, a major problem we had there was lack of collaboration among even government organizations in charge of one database or data. So we need to have that consciousness that this is not about us, it's not about any particular institution. It's about the country, for us to be counted, for us to know our number, for us to be able to plan for government services, for socio-economic development, and so on. So all this is what we need to put in place. We have the policy, human capital development, infrastructure, and collaboration, which is really important.
Why do I sense some level of insincerity here on the side of government and government agencies in ensuring that we have one single database? Because I've spoken with some few IT experts. This is not rocket science, like they always say. It is not rocket science that we could actually achieve a single database if we want to. You're talking about collaboration. I'm wondering, collaboration between who? Government agencies? I find that a little bit uncomfortable. I'm looking at a figure here where it says as of January 2021, Nigeria registered approximately 187.9 million mobile connections. What kind of infrastructures do the mobile operators have that can accommodate this large number of data? And we're talking about building the right infrastructure. Mr. Olatunji, I would need some clarification here on that. You're talking about collaboration among government agencies. Why should that be a problem?
We have 170 million lines or so, if that is the question. But I think when you talk about the number of lines we have in Nigeria, that does not actually speak to the actual number of people. We have about, an average in Nigeria will have like 1 or 2 lines, some have 3, some have 4. So that does not really speak to the number of people we have in the database. But about the collaboration again, you said something which I didn't hear. But what I said before was that we should have a platform whereby data controllers in government, you are customs, you are immigration, you are NIMSI, you are NYC, you have Federal Ministry of Education, the universities, where you're able to meet and look at the kind of policy guiding and harmonized national database for the country, and all of them have key roles to play and ensure that whatever they are doing, they are open, they are transparent, and there is nothing to hide, and the issue of quality usually adequately taken care of. That's what I mean by collaboration, but I didn't really get the question.
Mr. Latunji, let's take a look at the fact that as we speak right now, under the federal government setting, the MDAs, we have about 13 agencies managing the identity of the Nigerian people at this point in time. If you had your way, isn't it just the normal thing for maybe this administration before the term expires on May the 29th, or perhaps the incoming administration, to see the need to really actually harmonize these agencies up onto one or two so that they can be effective in really delivering on the mandates? Is that a line of thought you may want to toe? Are you there, Mr. Latunji? I think the network is with us. Okay.
Again, please?
All right. I'm trying to say that with about 13 federal government agencies, ministries, and all what have you, in charge of identity management in the country, one wonders what all of these 13 agencies are doing, just managing the affairs of how many we are in the country, and how to help this put people in the position of authority to plan and ensure development and growth. Would you, if you had the opportunity, would you think that it would be a wise thing to do to harmonize even these agencies to maybe one or two so that we can really have the desired results as they are being mandated?
Now, there is only one government organization in charge of identity management in Nigeria, and that's the National Identity Management Commission. That is the only government organization in charge of identity management. Now, for others, because of the services they offer, they will need your data, your identity. For instance, if you want to obtain your international passport, you need to go there, give them your details. You want to obtain your driver's license, you need to go there, give your details. You want to write JAMB, WIC, or you want to go for your national youth service, you need to give them their data, which all these things are tied to specific services that these organizations offer to citizens because you want to enjoy their service. That's why you are sharing your data. That's why you are sharing your information with them. But the only government organization in charge of managing our national identity is NIMSI, that's the National Identity Management Commission. Now, this will speak to the issue of having your national identity, like your social security number in the US, like your national health insurance scheme in the UK. Now, the question now is, you don't want to go to these organizations where you require services to keep sharing the same data or the same information about you. And that is where the issue of name comes in. Anywhere you get to, ideally, all they need to ask for is your name. When they input your name in their database, your identity, your information, your data comes up. And even NIMSI are going to the level of even tokenization of your ID now, that if you get to anywhere you want to give them your data, you want to give them information, you can even have your digital identity sent to them. So you don't need to get to your bank, get to NYC's office, get to WIC, get to JAMB, get to any other place, and they start asking for the same thing. All they need to do is to ask for your name, and when that is sent to the system, it brings all your information. It's only when they need additional information they will not need to supply that. That is what is referred to the harmonized database for the country. That you don't need to be sharing the same data, the same set of data, or different kind of data in different places. And there is what we call data minimization in data data management. That is the types of data, the volume of data they need from you must be accurate and be specific to the service that you want to enjoy. For instance, you want to go to bank to get a loan, and they're asking for where my mother was buried, just for instance. That is out of scope. Ideally, they don't need that kind of information for you, or they're asking for your blood group or your health status. All these things, there are some of things that are not important, but the most important thing is your age, your gender, and some other things, which is common to almost all the organizations that will, where you require one service or the other, and that is why NIMC has covered. So that is being done already, even without, when the harmonization initiative is still going on, with NIMC, with your name, you have access to a lot of things. And what we need to now do is to ensure that when you get to where you want to obtain one service or the other, they don't need to be asking for things when you have your name. So harmonization is more or less going on. So government organizations, they all have different mandates.
Yeah.
For instance, if you work in NYC, you can't man the border. You can't man the border post for people coming to Nigeria. That's for immigration. You want to obtain your driver license. Somebody in another organization cannot do that for you. So you go there for specific services. So they are for different things.
I'm afraid I would have to stop you on this point. Even though I somewhat disagree with a few of your submissions, I would have thought that all of these, they are collapsible into one database. I completely agree that is what I think should be. Like you're talking about the social security number. Once you have your social security number, it tells everything about you, up onto your blood group, your genotype, your spouses, everything about you can be located from your social security number. It's okay, we are hopeful, like you did say, we are hopeful that in the coming years, maybe it could be earlier than you thought about, we probably would achieve a single database and be able to curb all the excesses that we are faced with in the country, majorly insecurity and all of that. Thank you so very much, Mr. Vincent Olatunji. He is the DG, Director General of the Nigeria Data Protection Bureau. Thank you for your time and thought with us on this segment.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a great day.